And we are back. Welcome everyone to our first contested position, our first contested debate for the MUSA 20 elections. Now, it is being our first contested positions. Our candidates here are asked to keep their answers within 1 minute, if or around 1 minute. If they exceed it by too much, we will ask them to move on. Also, since it's our first contested debate, quick announcement to these for the people sending in the questions and for the candidates to keep avoid nasty questions and avoid questions with inappropriate language. Those will be dismissed by us. Okay, now for a quick rundown of how this session will go. We'll start off with opening statements by each set of candidates, followed by 10 minutes of the cross-examination of each other's policies, followed by another 10 minutes, which will be filled by questioning by the office bearers, before we go on to a 20 minutes of public Q&A. Again, for those of you here watching, if you'd like to ask a question, send in your questions to the YouTube chat. If you'd like to have some ideas on what to ask, check out Candidate Manifestos, which are sent linked in the YouTube chat. And so once the 20 minutes of public Q&A session is up, we will finish it off with 5 minutes of closing statements. So now, on to the introductions. We will have Mohit and Vanessa, the VP candidates for the ACM party, and Yongzhen, independent candidate as well for the VP position. So we'll start off with Mohit and Vanessa, your opening statements. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. All right. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. A very good afternoon, good morning, good evening, in whichever part of the world you are in. My name is Mohit. I'm currently in my year 2, semester 2, pursuing the Bachelor of Computer Science. Well, not here alone. I have my partner with me, Vanessa.
Hi everyone, so I'm Vanessa and I'm a VP candidate running alongside Mohit. I'm currently a year 2 Sem 1 student studying finance and business analytics.
Hey Vanessa, well, let's start off by questioning the most important question, why?
All right, so why the vice president, you mean? Mohit and I came together to run for this position because as students ourselves, we know how important the school climate is. And we hope to be able to bring improvement to that and advocate on a matter that we are passionate about. Both of us have past experiences in leadership roles, which we believe would greatly help us in fulfilling our role and responsibilities as the vice presidents. We want to counter the problems faced by students, especially those related to academics, and make the university a better place for all students. But now, what is our main purpose? What do you think, Mohit?
Well, while many may be aware of MUSA, plenty might not even configure what exactly they strive for. We, as vice presidents, need to take the responsibility of minimizing this gap by raising student awareness of MUSA. I'll get to that later, but the first question, let's ask, what is MUSA? With reference to the election guide, I quote, MUSA is your student association owned and run by students for the benefit of all Monash Malaysia students. Well, I don't think you've got it yet. Let's do it again. MUSA is your student association owned. MUSA is it's your, it belongs to you. We're here for your well-being and happiness, but yet plenty believe we do not serve you. This is exactly why we're here today. The term further revamping used in our manifesto is because with the great legacy of the office bearers implemented to the office, instead of amending their methodologies that they have brought in, we feel that we need to further add on top and transform this for the well-being of the students. Add on top and transform. What exactly does this mean? We believe to take up the initiative to create a comprehensive guide, an e-leaflet containing necessary details and particulars of MUSA, which can easily be reached and out to students and effortlessly be accessible through a variety of mediums. When MUSA e-leaflets are produced and distributed effectively through shareable links, these leaflets will help you land the right messages with the right audience at the right time. A single link or an image can easily be distributed and reached out to every edge of the student community. Moving on to our next point.
Oh, Vanessa, you're muted there.
So in our manifesto, we mentioned that we want to strive for academic excellence with the Educational Affairs Committee. We'll be doing that by placing feedback channels in the form of QR code at accessible places around campus. Once the students scan the QR code, they will be directed to a feedback form, which they could submit their concerns or suggestions to us anonymously. That way, we believe that students are more keen to express their opinions to us. The feedback will then be collected and raised during our meetings with the CEC. We intend to be the voice for the voiceless and let the students' concerns be heard. Next, we believe that being a student is not just about academics. There are two initiatives that we will be pursuing to improve students' educational experience. First, we would like to invite senior students who are performing well in both their academics and extracurricular to share their experience in the beginning of the semester. We aim to encourage more students to participate in activities outside the realm of their usual curriculum. Next, our responsibilities as vice presidents include organizing TEDx Monash Malaysia. Next year, we aim to open up opportunities for Monash students to become one of the speakers at TEDx.
That's exactly right. Well, aside from the heavy educational talks and academic responsibilities, our role is not just limited to that. Many are unaware of that MUSA provides subsidies or reimbursements for students who are representing Monash Malaysia at competitions or conferences, and publicizing them will play a vital role. Now, how does this benefit MUSA? When students come up to MUSA with their application form, they're informed of the services we are offering them. They now know that there is an educational association that aids students from just this. And not just for MUSA, this pushes and motivates students themselves to take active engagement in greater competition or conferences, widening their opportunities. At the end of the day, if they feel the benefit, they will spread the word.
All right,
All right.
so in a nutshell, we do not want... Okay,
Sorry,
can I
time
finish
is
the last
up.
sentence?
Apologies. Sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
last sentence.
no.
Go ahead.
Okay, so in a nutshell, we do not want to be a student body by name, but a student body that is student-centered. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mohit and Vanessa, for your opening statement. We shall move on now. Yongzhen, you have the floor.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Good evening, everyone. And I am Yongzhen, a second-year student majoring in economics and econometrics in the School of Business. So most of my policies have been detailed in summary in on the MUSA official page and on my manifesto. And now I will just talk about them more at length and in detail. So my platform runs on four tenets, which is awareness, communication, liaison, and representation. And these four tenets kind of build off and flow into each other. So I will speak of them as a whole. So as Vanessa and Mohit earlier mentioned, there is a visible disconnect between the student body and the rest of the and MUSA, the Student Association. Like voter turnout has been historically low, 10%, and participation in the elections this year has been abysmal. Only two seats are contested, and yeah, it's just it's not really representative of what the students are. So because the students are unaware of what you know MUSA does and what we stand for. So the primary concern that I have is to be able to promote MUSA to the students, like in manners like they mentioned in the e-leaflet. But to me, the most important thing would be in the orientation. That is the most key and crucial point where contact point with new students. So as a new student coming in, I wasn't aware about how things work and how important Moodle was and the email was and sort of the channels to get to school. So if for me, orientation would be the place where I want to make it more comprehensive. Maybe give them a booklet on the things that they can do and how the university system works for Monash. So second thing would be feedback. So there is a sort of a weird echo chamber happening. So like people get elected. So during normal campus, when they're preparing for the by-elections, the candidates, talk to and canvass with the rest of the students. But when they get elected, the communication kind of just disappeared. So Mohit and Vanessa's suggested way is through QR code feedback form in order to have students to, get their voice out to MUSA. So on top of that, I would try to add on a more physical space as things will be returning to normal soon on campus. So I would like to have, box. The previous vice president suggested having a feedback box up in front of MUSA, like somewhere or in front of the library or one of the study spaces where there's a lot of student traffic. So if as things will return to normal and people will go back to campus and people have started doing so already, I will want to implement that as quickly as possible if I were to be elected. So another thing of concern is that, since, Monash is after all an institution and a business, so profit is, inadvertently will be a key factor in the decisions of the administration. So I would want MUSA and as VP to serve as like sort of a countering force to that, because people in management will inadvertently make, decisions in pursuit of profit that might inadvertently, unbeknownst to them, be detrimental to the health of the student population and their welfare. So like I want MUSA to be able to be a body for students to, not this exclusive, untouchable sort of cliquey group, but sort of like this, every man, like how in democratic process, how people in parliament are supposed to represent their people, where there's like high voter turnout, there's high representation, there's lots of interaction and communication between the student body and MUSA. So that is sort of the ideal that I want to go for, so that more people can, participate in the elections, more people will be motivated to partake in the elections. So, so that we can have a student association as active as ones in like Yale or King's, like somewhere where, students really push it for, or even in Monash, Australia, or in, University of Melbourne, where the student association is very active. So yeah, that's the primary concern that I stand on. And I feel that, we got to address these kind of concerns before we hit on to, others like, maybe
Apologies,
others.
Young. Time is up. Would you like to wrap up?
So yeah, in summary, that's kind of the platform that I will mainly be running on, which is more representation, more communication, more, so that MUSA can be more representative of, a student body, be more like a student association. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yozen, for your opening statements. Now we move on to the cross-examination now. So again, you have 10 minutes entirety for this session. We ask to keep your questions in about 30 seconds and of course, keep your answers to about 1 minute. So who's up? Who has the first question?
I can ask.
All right, Mohit, go ahead.
Right. You mentioned regarding orientation, right? Where you're gonna like further publicize it and make people aware of MUSA during the orientation. So, are you aware that MUSA already does that, and they do plenty of it? So, how will your be different from theirs? Like the current, like whatever they're doing right now, how can yours be different?
So there might be a bit of misunderstanding there. I wasn't really talking about how
Apologies, Yozen. Could you speak up a bit? The line's not very clear.
Okay, apologies. So I wasn't really talking about how we promote MUSA to the students in the orientation. I was already aware of that. For me, it's more of a quality of life thing. It's more of like, how when you first came in on orientation, like the people who run the orientation gave it their best, but there's still so much that you don't understand, and you get overwhelmed in semester one at the beginning of semester one. So you don't know like how the whole system works, how the classes work, all the and even the registration thing on WES was really awkward for most people, and in my experience as well. So I was hoping that more information about Monash, how Monash functions itself, can be condensed and told to the students and be given in a leaflet in the orientation. Thank you.
Can you provide some examples? Because I mean, I understand what the main purpose is, but I don't understand how are you going to do it. I agree you're going to send out information and everything, but I don't exactly understand how will you do it. Like practically being there, how are you going to do it?
So You remember correctly, the way we did was through emails. So like for me, it would be doing emails. Then afterwards, to register for orientation. Then afterwards, in the orientation, talk about all the things like WES and how you have to enroll your course again all the time, and how you source your books, and how a lot of the information is on Moodle, on the Monash page, on the website itself, and yeah, to be able to in addition to that, like mentioned earlier, the leaflets.
Okay.
All right, who's got the next question?
Okay, I'll ask the next question. I just want to ask, because you said that you want to do the feedback boxes, right? But do you know that there will be a budget cut next year? So all these feedback boxes, you actually need additional money for that. So what are you going to do about it?
In my opinion, a feedback box is, it doesn't cost a lot to make. So maybe like 10, 20 for one. Like it doesn't have to be something super expensive, just a place where which is visible and where students can, draw or like design it and just put it on. It doesn't have to be something super pricey. Yeah. But ultimately something very necessary.
I just want to ask, like, where are you planning to put the feedback box? Is it just one feedback box?
No, a few, mainly around high traffic areas, such as in front of the library entrances, in front of the hive entrances, maybe like the canteen close to the stairwells, or in front of the canteen where people move to their classes. So places like that.
All right. Anyone's got the next question? Okay, we'll give the candidates some time while they think of questions.
Okay, I have one question, because you actually said about all those feedback boxes. You said that most of the things that you suggested, right, is all in the event that we will actually go back to campus. But what if the next semester is online as well?
Well, if it's online, definitely the system would be better. So, I was talking more of a fact that because eventually the pandemic will die down, and eventually we will have to go back to campus. So even with like one semester, there'll still be another semester which will be on campus, and also stuff like emails and Instagram, like just like create a page where students can send in their feedback, where there's and like you said, pull up a link on the MUSA official page. Like they have this hyperlink which takes them to a list. So like maybe put up a box there that is about a feedback form on Google Forms to the student association.
I have a question. You mentioned regarding student awareness, and I totally agree about that on MUSA student awareness. But are you aware that the vice president is not only about that? The portfolio consists of plenty of other things within it. So, can you talk about how do you plan on bringing new initiatives towards that, like TEDx or towards education or subsidies, anything?
So, looking at the entire portfolio, there's education, merchandise sales, TEDx, subsidies, and student initiatives and strategic pool fund. So, TEDx is a given, and the strategic pool fund and the student initiatives and the subsidies have always been there. So, this comes part and parcel with promoting awareness. So, by promoting awareness, and for one of my policies, which is that I didn't have enough time to mention earlier, which is to publicize information on the activities on MUSA regularly, monthly, on online pages and forums and on the notice boards. So like, this is also part and parcel of promoting awareness. So with that awareness, you send in that information together. In the orientation, when they're promoting MUSA, you talk about these initiatives and these funds as well. But TEDx, merchandise sales, that's a given that, uh, the people in position holding the portfolio of vice president do every year.
All right, so we've had so far we had all questions by the ACM candidates. And in fact, some commenters are asking Yongzhen if you'd like to ask your own questions, perhaps, in this cross-examination section.
Yeah, I actually have a few questions of my own. One of them being, you guys run on the same platform as in promoting awareness to me, but how do you guys plan on promoting the awareness of MUSA to the students?
Vanessa, you can take over that.
All right. So we mentioned earlier about our e-leaflet, right? That's actually one of our initiatives to actually promote awareness, because the e-leaflet, right, it'll be a very comprehensive guide. Like, it'll have the information, like the contacts of the people who are in charge of certain stuff and everything over there. Then also it'll have a timeline of the annual events that will actually happen every year. It's somewhat similar to the orientation booklet that they did previously, but like this e-leaflet, right, it's actually, we are actually targeting to actually create awareness for the current students as well. So this e-leaflet, right, we are planning to actually heavily promote on it. So like once people actually look at this, right, it's actually so easy to understand whatever, like, I mean, like the basic things that MUSA is doing, that's what we are actually going for. Yeah. So
I'd like to
yeah, sorry.
sorry. I'd like to add on that to further like emphasize on what it is. So basically, like in the e-leaflets can include principal informations like MUSA's mission and vision, the important contact details for each purpose, the benefits we serve for them, or possibly a fixed timeline of events, you know, throughout the year, throughout the semester. And we think that these e-leaflets can grab attention in ways digital publicity like social media posts or emails cannot. That's why.
All right. Yongzhen, do you have a follow-up or a different question, perhaps?
Give me a sec, yeah?
Okay, sure. We have about just over a minute left, so this would most likely be your final question.
Yeah, my question is like promoting awareness is getting more people to participate in the elections and to make MUSA more open to all the students part of your policy, and if so, what way do you wish to do to achieve that?
All right, who'd like to take that?
Okay, I'll answer this. One thing, I don't think like creating, like you want people to actually participate in like elections and all that, it doesn't just happen in one day. I feel like you actually have like a long way to go. So like we are gonna start with this leaflet, and obviously like in the future we will actually go on with other initiatives, but we think that this is the beginning, like this is what we are gonna do right now. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, and that signals the end for our cross-examination session. We're going to move on now to the questioning by the candidates. We'll invite Tafim and Melissa, as well as Heiko, the current SOIT rep, who's here upon invitation by the VP candidates. So yeah, to the three of you, whenever you have questions, go ahead.
All right, hi, I will begin. My first question is to Vanessa and Mohit. So you guys mentioned that you guys will use QR placed in high traffic areas for collecting feedback. So MUSA actually tried to collect feedback through their social media channels, and about 4,000 people follow MUSA, the MUSA IG stories at least. But when we try to collect feedback, either no one reached out to us, or from my recollection, one person reached out to ask about SFR. So how would you actually encourage students to use these QR codes and these feedback channels?
All right. So there's one. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Like you mentioned, there are about 4,000 followers on the Instagram page, and a lot of people you told me that they're just one of them. Now, there's a possibility that we can add incentives where we can give them rewards if they do scan something for the first few months. And with that, we'll get a lot of demand. Likewise, everything was online last semester. So I doubt there would have, and like the previous semester before that, everything was online as well. So everyone got used to it already. So this time everyone might have confusions, doubts, and everything because it's been a whole year since everyone's come to campus. So this will increase the demand, and we think that putting it in public places and where there's more traffic will increase feedback numbers and feedback.
All right. So you guys have mentioned about you guys have mentioned about TEDx that you will allow Monash students to speak. Um, However, TEDx has certain rule that you cannot the attendance is capped at 100 for each event. So students so whatever you do, only 100 students can come to Monash, and the main way in which how these videos can reach the mass is through uploading the TEDx online videos. So, do you think that instead hiring someone who has years and years of industry experience would make for a better quality TED conference?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll answer this. Okay, so about that, right? Actually, we did think about it, like if we wanted to be 100% students as the speakers, or like maybe it could be 50%, 50%. And the reason why we want to do this is because actually I couldn't actually mention it in my speech. We couldn't finish it just now. But like there's this thing that we are actually striving for, which is real RIO, is responsibility, integrity, and opportunities. And the students as TEDx speakers actually falls under the opportunities. We hope to create more opportunities for students. Like we believe that if students actually come to the TEDx as the audience, right, it is very different as them as a speaker on the stage giving the speech. So we actually want to actually create these opportunities for students. Like, yeah. So that is why we actually really hope that we could actually open the floor for the students to actually become a speaker at TEDx. I feel like it'll be a very great thing for the student. And after that, I remember that Melissa actually said like how the what do you call that? The topic that the students want to share, right, might not actually relate to what our TEDx, our team and all that, right? I feel we will actually go through all that to actually make sure we actually pick the right students and all that. And also like the students going through all the process also, it'll be very beneficial for them. Yeah.
I'd like to add upon that. Yeah.
Is that you, Youngzin?
perspective as well.
Okay. Oh, Mohit. All right.
Yeah. So basically,
Okay,
if
so-
you
All right,
was
let's allow Mohit. You can go quick for about 30
Okay.
seconds, and then yeah, Youngzin.
Okay, so basically, if you can go to the website of TEDx, they have beside that, they have something called ideas worth spreading or something like that. Now, the main idea of why it's there is because they want people to learn. And if we're there having students presenting, it's both ways learning. You know, students can improve their public speaking skills, creativity, critical thinking skills, and you know, possibly building their credibility because overall, it's better for career development. So that's why we believe that both way learnings might be beneficial. Probably totally not students 50-50, but we think that'll be a good idea.
All right, Youngzin.
I'd like to follow up on that question.
All right.
Do
Sorry,
you think-
Tafin. Let's let Youngzin quickly give in his response, and we'll go back to your question.
Alright.
Okay, so for me, TEDx, in my opinion, TEDx should most ultimately be quality and visibility. So students, it's a learning experience for, TEDx primarily is a platform for people who've gone through a lot in order to, talk about their experience and teach the students about, what they've been through. And maybe there's something they can learn because the students are still in their young green days. There's maybe some sort of mindset and idea that can teach the students to like how to achieve their dreams and goals in the future. So I feel that student speeches, they should be given an opportunity, but they should be vetted very heavily, and they should only be allowed be given the opportunity to speak if it's something really outstanding, like their sort of own charity or starting their own business or their entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, that's my view on TEDx.
All right. Yep. Back to the office bearers.
All right. I just have a follow-up question for Vanessa and Mohit. you guys mentioned that there was you'd have 50% students and 50% speakers. That's a very high number because when you initially mentioned it, I thought it would be 1 or 2 student speakers. So do you think that TEDx? Okay, so TEDx Monash University Malaysia has Monash University's name on the event itself, and it is about Monash's reputation. And if the TEDx speech does, if TED feels that the TEDx speeches are not up to par and up to quality, they will not renew your license for 2022. So my question is TEDx actually the best place for students to learn? Because I assume that there's a lot of opportunities for students to do public speaking and to innovate and to learn.
I think
Okay.
TEDx is all right. Sorry. So I think TEDx
Go ahead.
is one of the greatest annual events that we had. And if students can't be a part of that, can be a part of that, what's better than that? And I would like to clarify that when you mentioned 50-50%, so we plan on making it fully student, but if it's not possible, we're open to compromise to maybe even having 100% outside people, but we will focus on students presenting as well. And yes, if as you mentioned that TED might not approve our license, that's exactly why we have a committee recruitment drive, where it's a platform for students to be a part of organizing the event, and our subcommittees can um, have a talent recruitment to look at how well they do it. So yeah.
All right. Next,
All right.
Mess will be taking over for Youngzhen, but I'd just like to make a comment. Do reconsider because you will not be given an opportunity by Student Life even. But yeah, we can speak about that later once and if you get elected. All right.
Thank
I'll
you
just
so
give the
much.
floor to you.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Melissa?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So my next few questions will be to Yongzhen. Okay. So in your manifesto, you actually talked about fee reduction. What steps would you take to try to achieve a fee reduction that the current MUSA has not taken? Or if you mentioned fee reduction, if let's say next year is going to be on campus, how do you propose to bring any improvements or changes?
So currently there's a annually it increases by 5% the per semester fee, right? So ultimately I want to try and reduce that a bit by petitioning the administration, maybe having talking to them, talking to them in meetings and discussing you know maybe what are their reasons for increasing the fees every year and to make it more affordable. And in the case of an online semester, we're aware that Monash Australia holds the ultimate authority in all this, but we're gonna try and establish a communication link with the student association is in Australia as well. And to my knowledge, they are fighting for the same thing, and try to understand the situation and to go for it to work together in that regard.
But wouldn't you say that that is more of the treasurer's jurisdiction?
Uh, yes, but ultimately, I want to be able to do anything we can to help the treasurers to achieve that goal. Yeah, because it's part of making education, better for all the students. Since it's an online semester, there's no like on-campus, activities. There's less use of the campus facilities. There should be a bit of fee reduction for the students.
All right, we'll have one final question from the office bearers. Is anyone here who would like to take it up?
I think we actually have quite a few more questions though.
Yeah, we
Is it
what we
possible
can
to
do is
explain?
we'll get back to them after the
Okay.
public Q&A if there's time. But if not, I
Okay.
suggest
Alright.
you all ask your final, the biggest question perhaps.
Okay.
Yep.
So, so the next question would be, okay, never mind. Tycho, would you like to ask the question?
Mel, no. If you insist on asking, I'll let you answer. I'll let you ask first. I'll have the time after that. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So this question is also to Yongzhen. In your speech, you mentioned that you want to give booklets to new students. However, that's the I'm not sure if you're aware, but that's the editor's job scope actually, and it's also very difficult to give too much information to students during orientation week because they're new to university and they will have to deal with information from not only MUSA but also school reps and their CMOs. They have to get their units in order for their West and everything. So how do you propose to improve this from the perspective of VP if it involves so many other office bearers or other stakeholders?
Okay, so definitely that is to have a discussion with all of the other representatives. So when you before the orientation, when you're preparing during the meetings to kind of discuss and make it very clear and as concise as possible, as well as in the slides, to give the students the information in as short as possible, and to post up the slides, the links to the slides on MUSA and the all the social media platforms, and to let them be able to access that so that they can refer to it quickly and early. And hopefully with the booklets, they don't need to digest it in one go, but make it something they can in the first semester when they're getting used to things, something they can refer to constantly, or like when they're re-registering for the second semester right before that, something they can refer to, until they don't need it anymore.
All right. Okay, that ends the session. We'll move on now to the public Q&As. We've received quite a few questions, and so we'll ask the first one. First question by Jaslyn to Yongzhen. You're a solo candidate. This is a paired position. How do you plan to fill the gap with you alone? A VP is a huge responsibility.
Oh, yes, I'm very well aware of that. And for now, try to get a subcommittee together as soon as possible so that, there's enough, able to, delegate the responsibilities. And for me personally, to shoulder it as much as possible until in the next by-elections where, another vice president candidate can be elected to take up the full scope of the role as a two-person position.
All right, thank you, Yongzhen. Of course, again, to anyone here who have been asking questions and you'd like to ask a follow-up, just send in your follow-up, preferably with a bit of a mention as to what you're asking about. I'll move on next to Dominic. In your manifesto, you mentioned that you will act as a liaison with student life. Isn't this the president's job? And can you clarify further on what you meant by that? I believe this question is for Yongzhen.
I didn't actually mean liaison with student life, but with actually the administration and the management. So and mainly that, not really the liaison with student life.
I see. All right. We'll move on to the next question then. By Val Frost. Isn't there already a current online form that exists? Why do you think it isn't working, and how can you improve it? Right, who'd like to take this question? Again, to the audience, please direct your question to a particular person so we can direct it through them. But yes, who would like to take this? Mohit, are you muted?
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Assuming you are talking about the feedback online form. Now, you see, everything was online, I totally agree. And how would they post it? Through Instagram, right? If if everyone had Instagram, we would have had like 8,000 plus followers, because that's the capacity of our students. Now, having on-campus online forums just increases the chances and the probability of receiving the online the feedbacks. We don't plan on stopping it through Instagram. We will continue this, but this is to just add on top for more feedbacks to arrive. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Moving on to the next question then. Question by Mark to Mohit. Mohit, if I'm not wrong, you have no previous experience for being part of any student association in Monash, and you have not taken part in any events, including your community events. How will you make sure that this won't be a hindrance in the way of your responsibilities, and how confident are you about taking up these responsibilities, as we have not seen you taking part in any extracurricular or any student association events?
All right, thank you very much for the question. So I can clear it out. Yes, I totally agree. I haven't been a part of any student association, but I have been a part of Monash Cup as always, as you mentioned, extracurricular activities. So I've always been a part of. I was in two or three sports in Monash Cup. Likewise, I think that the main reason why we're here is to learn, you know. And if we have the responsibility and we have the confidence that we can learn as we progress through the whole year with Musa, I think this wouldn't be a problem for me. And talking about my past experiences, I was the deputy head boy in school. I had organized plenty of events, so that's why I think that the main idea is a learning process. If we think we can learn, then it takes it all off because all of us are here just to learn.
All right, thank you, Mohit. We'll move on to the next question. Question by Jess Yongzin. Sorry, this is probably referring to the cross-examination session later. We'll move on to the next question then. All right, question by Peter Lawrence. Yongzin, you mentioned that the suggestion box does not have to be expensive. Even if the box does not cost much, you still have to buy the papers and print out forms for students to fill in. Have you taken this into consideration, or do you plan to just have students use their own papers to submit their feedback form?
Yes, I concur to that, which is that the feedback form you need to print it out and it costs. So if you put the feedback form online and have the students print it out, it might disincentivize the students to do something to fill it out because it's inconvenient and they might not want to do it. And it is an extra cost to have the physical papers, but ultimately I feel it is a necessary cost because the sort of two-way communication hasn't been good in the past. So if you're able to improve that even by just a bit, I think it is ultimately a necessary cost to the budget. Thank you.
All right, yep. If you'd like to ask a follow-up, feel free to ask it. We'll move on to the next question by N. May I ask the candidates to elaborate more about the Academic Advisory Board, the Campus Education Committee, the Education Affair Committees, and however, promoting MUSA is more towards leading internal departments. So this is a question to both pairs or both sets of candidates. What are your responses? Would you like to go first? I seem to have lost Mohit there. Yongzin, could you go first, or Vanessa? So I believe this person could be asking or testing your knowledge on these committees and these groups in Monash.
Hello.
Yes, can hear you, Yongzin.
All right. I'd like to clarify.
Wait, sorry, hold
that...
on. Yongzin speaking? Nope,
No,
okay.
it wasn't me. It was
apologies.
Mohit.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to correct that the AAB and the CEC is basically something very similar, but as much as we are aware of, the AAB is not active right now. So I'd like to clarify that there. But regarding the CEC, so basically this is usually held by the secretary of CEC, and as the office bearers mentioned earlier, as long as I can recall, that it happened 3 to 4 times in the first semester and about once in this semester. So there are a couple of issues that were carried out during this time, and usually the deputy heads will be when I mean that is like basically the CEC is
Okay, you may be taking way too much time already. Yongzhen, do you have any response? If not, we'll move on to the next question.
I'll talk about the Education Affair Committee part. So, since it's actually a fund to subsidize events and workshops for the students, it's been held back by the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic, campus is shut down, that events can't be run. But definitely, if students are interested in holding an online workshop, if we continue with an online semester, definitely we want to open up the opportunity and possibility for in order for them to do so. And as soon as campus comes back online, of course, we will be open to applications to the Education Affairs Committee in order to, have workshops that enhance the learning experience. In the meantime, the best we can probably do is, inviting speakers from respective industries like engineers, accountants to speak to students of their respective schools. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. But before that, I believe Heikel has a pressing question. Heikel, would you like to ask your question now?
All right, sure. Hi guys, I'm Heikel, the SYT rep. So just gonna glance this real quick. Mohit, you are very fast in telling Yongzhen about things that MUSA has really done this, has really done that. But I'll just want to bring a point to you saying that when you guys mentioned about feedback forms in QR codes, just a quick question by the way, do you guys know who's inside EAC? Just a small question before I go to the next part. Do you all know who's in EAC, Education Affairs Committee?
Hi, yes. It's the vice president and the school representative.
Okay, great. So basically, my question is going to be, because in your manifesto, you said something about striving for excellence and then you're going to accessible feedback channels and all that. The things that you've mentioned so far to me sounds like a duty that a school rep can do. For example, QR codes, school reps can do. For example, Yongzhen's idea of feedback boxes, all these things, school reps can already do this. As VPs, we need someone who's giving us direction, not telling me something that another department can easily do. So that one thing I gotta ask, like, what is this feedback form? To me, it sounds very inconsistent. It sounds very small to be part of your job scope in a way. But at the same time, I would rather you focus more of the direction of MUSA and then basically, like, what do you think a VP, someone who has really high power, can do to make sure that you get the correct feedback or you get the right amount of feedbacks? That's one. And secondly, Vanessa and Mohit, this is towards the both of you. You've been constantly mentioning in your speech and your manifesto about promoting MUSA to students. Is that what you think VP is all about? Because Mohit, I'm sure you mentioned to Yongzhen saying that there are plenty of other things VP is doing. Since you brought that up, let me know. Tell me what do you know about VPs? All right, so that's the questions I have. And also one more thing about relevance. Mohit, you mentioned that you have experience doing Monash Cup, but participating in sports and all that stuff. How is that relevant to taking a huge role like a vice president in MUSA? That's it.
All right. So there were plenty of questions. The first question I'd like to answer is, I mean, if I do miss out anything, do let me know because there were plenty of them. So the first thing that you mentioned was regarding the positions that are available in MUSA as a vice president. Now, we're aware that students, it consists of EAC, education basically, merchandise sales, subsidies, student initiatives, strategic pool funds, if I'm not wrong, yes, and TEDx definitely. So we believe that altogether, it's a whole combination, not just raising student awareness. Raising student awareness is through one thing that our party ACM does follow up to, and we're just there to bring it ahead. So therefore, we think that the rest of the roles is very important, including providing subsidies to students. Now, you mentioned that I don't have enough experience. I totally agree. towards the student association. But I'd like to say that I am here to learn, right? And it's not only for myself. I do think that I have that spark and that confidence that students feel they need. And I've been through plenty of things in lectures and tutorials that many students feel they may not be capable of. And when I mean that, I'm just like, whenever I'm sitting in lectures or tutorials, I was just like, why doesn't this bring up? Why is this never brought up? So I do have those experience, and I constantly feel that it is important to observe everything that is going on. And that makes me stand as the vice president. I feel that that spark and that confidence is there inside me.
Good point, Mohit. Yep. But sorry, Raif, just one more question for me.
Go ahead.
Leongzhen, you can continue after I ask this question for that. You mentioned that you want to address feedbacks about students who are, like, for example, in lectures and all that, and you're an SOIT student, am I right?
Yeah.
Have you received an email from SOIT representative about recruitment for year SSLC?
Not in IT. Yeah.
No, I'm not
not in IT. Oh.
Have you had an email received by MUSA SOIT about recruitment for staff student liaison committee? I'm sure you did.
Yes.
Yes. Why didn't you sign up? Because basically, if you are what you say you are, you really want to address all these points. I didn't see your name on the registration list. So if I'm sure you really want to emphasize you're talking about why is this thing not brought up? Probably because you didn't sign up. An example. So tell me, why should the rest of us trust that you actually do what you say you are? Because from evidence that showed you didn't even sign up for SSLC. Example. Yeah.
Oh, can you repeat that? Sorry, it was cracking.
Is it? Again, SSLC is Staff Student Liaison Committee, right? You didn't sign up for it, but yet you are telling us that you are questioning why wasn't this brought up? Why are lectures like this? Why are lectures like that? But if you yourself have not registered for Staff Student Liaison Committee, and you evidently said that you saw that email, but yet you chose not to register. So what makes you think you are really the man for the job? Because even as simple as a small job like SSLC rep, you can't fulfill. What makes you think we can trust you to lead the direction of MUSA as a whole?
I think that's very in particular is very small. Okay, I'd like to say that to clarify, student SOIT is something that is not very the initiative that's brought in there is not very it's all right. Okay, let's erase that all up and let's start again. Basically, you mentioned that I should focus on why, as a vice president, although I have that spark and the confidence, why didn't I sign up for that thing? Correct, right? Is that what? So, if I believe that if the main idea is not brought out properly, although bringing up that event is something that needs to be held up, and that needs to be typed down, sending links or something like that. So that's not something that will be very accessible, and making students more aware of it. People just be like, oh, okay, it's right there. I don't think I should even fill it in, because who cares? I don't even know if they're going to do it. But it's our duty to figure out why they're not doing it.
All right, Mohit, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up your answer. Yeah, you have to move on.
So yeah, that's exactly. So it's our main, it's the thing that you need to find out exactly why they're not doing it. I totally agree. I did not do it. I just thought it was not the need. But why? Why is that the problem? Because people need to find that out. That's the main idea that's required.
All right, thank you, Mohit. Right, just to inform everyone here, we will be extending this particular session to 8:10. So, Yongzhen, do you have a response to Heikel's question? If not, we'll move on.
Yeah, actually, he was talking about in regard to how vice presidents, it's such a high up place, and how all the other jobs could be covered by, the other students, and we might be encroaching on, their position. But the way I kind of think of it is like this. So like feedback, MUSA is supposed to represent the student body. So like it flows from the feedback that we receive into the student council meetings that we have. And, like ultimately, all you need to be able to come up with the idea. So the ideas that come from the feedback box synthesize with the ideas of the representatives and the other office bearers themselves. And like you bounce around these ideas in, the student council meetings, and in the end, you come up with a better version of the idea, and then you assign it to the person who is under their jurisdiction to carry out the sort of idea, such as the feedback box. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm as VP, I'm encroaching on someone else's, work. But, I feel that the most important thing is the visibility, is to know the information, to, have the idea, because all action that comes out of improving student life and well-being and welfare and to improve the flow is ultimately through the ideas that come up with and are implemented.
All right, we will have to move on to the next question. Of course, again, just a quick reminder to everyone, if we aren't able to ask all the questions, you can direct them to the Know Your Candidates post for the VP position and ask them in the comment section. All right, we'll move on to EG's question. I feel while TEDx is a great event, it is the wrong time to let students practice their skills. That feels more like a debate competition and shouldn't be the end goal of TEDx. All right, we're not quite sure who this was addressed, but yes.
Okay, but I'll answer this question. About this, right? I actually don't view it as students practicing their skills. Like, I am sure, like, if they are gonna stand there to actually talk, to actually speak, right, they would be prepared already. They are not there to practice. So, and about this, right, it's the thing is, I believe that students, right, I believe youth actually really like use. Just because like someone, I mean, I believe that just like if you are older, you have more experience and all that, you actually set up charities and all that. But I believe that youth have things that are worth sharing, So I believe that they could actually share at TEDx. And then the thing is, right, because there's like, we probably have about like 6 months to actually prepare for TEDx. I mean, us as VP, since we are the organizers, right, we will actually look through it and make sure that they are actually prepared. They have the capability to stand on stage to actually give their talk. So I feel like that's where we stand also as a TEDx organizer in Monash. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yongzhen, have you got a response? If not, we'll move on to the next question.
No.
All right. Now, on to our next question. By Louis, is it possible to extend time from... Oh, right. Okay. So going back to the question by Heikel earlier, I think I'll just rephrase the question. Heikel, let me know if I've rephrased it wrongly. Heikel was asking you, Mohit, that pointing out that you've not signed up by SSLC. Just asking you really briefly, how does that reflect on you preaching for all of these policies to create more awareness, to get more feedback, etc.? What's your brief response to this? All right, I got Mohit. I'm going to unmute you. I think you're muted. All right, there we go.
Can we bring up the question again? I think it got...
Okay, Heikel, it was a... All right, yeah.
All right. So basically, it's all right. So I think he meant if that. So he sent out forms of SSLC. I totally agree. And why didn't I do it? I'll be very honest to it. Plenty of it comes across, and plenty of it every time it always comes out to us, and it's always sent through emails. People honestly are not aware of it through emails, and looking at it, it's not just something that it's more of the thing that you get to see. So when I mentioned feedback forms, why will people even do it? I totally agree why SSLC is something that's not something which is...
Oh my. Okay. All right.
Hello?
Yes. All right, Mohit.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear Mohit.
Okay. If that's something that is required by a person, it's not really necessary for someone to always go up to the link that is sent. I've done it before, but it doesn't mean that every time it's supposed to happen, right? So it's not supposed to be consistent every time. But if you have that spark and um, you have the what is it called? The responsibility of doing it, then I think you can achieve really high standards.
All right, thank you, Mohit. We'll move on to the next question then. Can we get the next question up, please? All right, question by Wilson. To Yongzhen, we've heard you mention that many times that you will liaise with so-and-so. With no prior experience in MUSA, what kind of relationship have you already established and how will you work with it?
Yes, thank you for the question, Wilson. So, I do not have any experience with Musa, and I'm coming in as someone who doesn't have any prior experience, doesn't have a connection with Musa, but I just believe in the mandate that the belief that the student association is open to everyone who is willing to put in the work and to give it a try. So even if I don't know these things, coming in, to learn, it's part of a learning experience as a student association member as well. So just to come in, work with everyone, and bring in all the work and time that I can give in order to work on these things, because everyone has had a start. So how can you say that someone who has no prior experience in a student association, everyone has had a start. So, this would be my start in that regard.
All right, thank you, Yongzhen. We'll move on to the next question. We get the next question up. All right, question by Jess to Mohit. Can you elaborate in detail what you mean by the spark that you have in you? All this time you've been very loud, and that's fine, but please explain more concisely your answers. Actually, I tell you what, we'll stop on this. We'll not ask this. I think we've gone around Mohit's personality and character enough. Let's have a different question, please. Maybe one related to policy. Do you have a question? All right, hang on. Okay, question by
Guys,
Dominic.
VPs have a lot of questions, so
Yeah, to Yongzhen, how do you intend, if elected, to maintain amicable relationships with the other candidates when they are all of the same party? And how confident are you? I think a good disclaimer here for the audience is that Dominic is a member of the ACM party and Yongzhen is an independent candidate.
So I actually don't view myself as an opponent of the party. I don't hate it. Like how parties are supposed to be opposed to each other and not like each other. My goal is to, if I do get elected, definitely to work with them and to be in a good working relationship. I don't want to throw a wrench in their works. I don't want to be, like they're just, as an independent, just to mess up, whatever plans they have going. For me, my mandate is to the people, and like for me, the most important thing is representing the students. So if they have sort of ideas and initiatives that are really good for the welfare for students, like I'm all happy to go with it. However, if it's something I believe that it's that's more that doesn't benefit the students, then naturally I will vote against that and use my position, like use my voting right to vote against that. So like I'm not trying to run as an opposition or like to try and throw a wrench in the works of ACM's like plans if they are good for the students. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. We're almost out of time. We'll have one more final question before we have to wrap it up. Again, to everyone here who has more questions, I see there are like a ton of questions on Mohit and what he said about his personality. I do ask that you all ask that question in the Instagram section, in the comment section. Mohit can address them there. All right, a question by Val again. Yongzhen, you mentioned that, and I quote, at least one semester will be on campus. How are you so certain that the pandemic will eventually subside?
I'm not. Like from what the numbers show that there are less than 200 active cases for a long time already. Eventually, things will kind of freshen out, and hopefully by then things will be good enough to allow us to return to campus. However, if it doesn't allow us to do so. If they still continue with the lockdown, then just adapt and switch to adapt to policies that are more suited and more geared towards online learning and absence of people on campus. Like there has been improvement on the schedule already. Like for example, for business students back then, it was only even number on Monday. Then no, it was odd number on Monday and then even number on Thursday. So like effectively, students only have one day to return to campus. Now it's already like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So there has been a gradual improvement. So if we travel along that gradient in the future, most likely we'll be able to return soon. If not, we'll just adapt to it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Yongzhen. The team has just discussed, and we will be provide another further extension, just a bit, to 5 more minutes to wrap up the questions by the office bearers. Office bearers have requested to ask more of their questions. All right. Which office bearer would like to ask first?
Okay, yeah, I got a question. Okay, so coming back to the manifesto. Okay, so this question is for Yongzhen. In your manifesto, you stated that you will push for a policy similar to the hardship grant. You also mentioned that this can improve the well-being of students. However, only a certain percentage of grant applications get approved, not all of them do. So in that sense, it doesn't exactly benefit all 7,000, 8,000 students of Monash. So how would you ensure the equitable distribution then?
Definitely, when you guys had to review those sort of applications, you had to really think it through and really vet them out and talk to the candidates and to see who was really in the most dire pressing need. I know that the budget is limited. I know that the funds are limited, and most probably I will want to travel along the same trajectory if it comes to something like a hardship grant. So really, really, talk to the candidates and for the applicants for the grant and really see how badly they need it. And for the people who don't get it, we'll try our best to find better ways, maybe a smaller grant, or maybe like some way in order to help them in this regard.
However, these grant application, it's not up to the VPs or MUSA to have a say in it. It's completely up to student life. So how would MUSA play a role in ensuring that students, like the ones who are in dire need, are prioritized and things like that?
Could you repeat that again?
Because you mentioned that you want to vet everything and all, but if we're talking about hardship grants or any grant for that matter, the decision making is up to student life. It's not MUSA's choice on who gets the grant, or it's not up to MUSA to determine who deserves it more than one another. So how would you could you clarify
So
your answer?
maybe in the day-to-day meetings, just talk to them about it, and maybe they talk about that how the grants are distributed, how they make their decisions, and maybe through normal discussion, ask like how they do it, what sort of trajectory they do it, not like criticize them for the things they do, but just to check and ensure that that they really vetted and they really evaluated and they really chose the people who needed it the most.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Okay, so the grants are actually the financial hardship grants were given in a state of emergency, in a state of hardship, and they were one-time grants only for semester 1, 2020. We have requested for grants for semester 2, 2020. However, we were declined by Student Life on the basis that the country is not in a state of emergency anymore, given the fact that it's recovery MCO now. So there most likely will not be any hardship grants in semester 1, 2021 as well, because of the financial hardship that is being faced by Monash due to low enrollment. And that is reflected on our budget cuts as well. So how would you have any grant that would benefit the students? Where would the money come from?
I mean, if there is a sort of revenue drop and as a result of less enrollment, naturally grants are gonna be smaller, and we're still gonna try for it anyways, and really see what we can do. But like, I'm very well aware that because it is an institution, and it is like low enrollment means that less budget, but like, I'm really seeking to see that the budget be used to its best extent. If it's really I'll try anyways, and if it really comes to that, then yeah.
All
I
right.
actually wished if the follow-up to that is just a statement that I'd actually wished you guys would have consulted us before making the manifesto, because as I've said before, there were no grants. There were no grants for 2020 semester 2 2020, like zero ringgit for any student. So it is most likely there will be no grants given in 2021 as well, no matter how much you no matter how much you ask, most likely, because again, 2021 will most likely be online, so most likely be on campus. So in that scenario, on what basis will you be asking for the grants? And again, how will you be providing money for the grants?
If there is a return to campus, I would assume that, not assume, I would be under the belief that enrollment will pick up again. So if there is another emergency, then like, of course, the hardship grants. And if there is no emergency, like, of course, if it really does happen, it will be severely limited. So again, only to the students who really really show that they can't, they really really need it. Yeah.
All right, we have run out of time. Thank you to the office bearers and to the candidates for answering the questions. I've noted some of the comments here. We'll provide a brief explanation on how the questions are filtered later on before the president's session starts. And again, there are a lot of questions here for Mohit. We will ask all of you to direct those questions to the Know Your Candidates post on MUSA's Instagram. So if you hop onto MUSA's Instagram and you scroll down to the feed, to a specific post that will say Know Your Candidate number 2. That is where you'll have a profile on the VP candidates, and in the comment sections, do ask your questions. We apologize, we have run out of time, unfortunately. We'll have to move on to the closing statements. So to Mohit and Vanessa, your closing statements for 2.5 minutes, please.
All right. For starters, we'd like to appreciate and thank each one of the returning officers, office bearers, as well as the audience for their questions, which aided us to explore and elaborate on our mission and visions. As mentioned, we aim to strengthen the synergetic environment through active communication with the student community. We plan on enhancing an open environment in which interactivity and feedback responses between the MUSA and the student community can be significant and transparent. We will not be able to do this without your vote. So please do vote for us for your Rio under the ACM party, and we'll let the action speak. Do reach out. We're listening. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, do we have some more time?
Yes, you have about a minute. Oh, sorry, 2 minutes.
All right, so I just want to make this, I just want to make this really quick. So I believe that this position, right, the VP position is partnered for a reason. So since I am Mohit's partner, right, I just want to say throughout this time that I was working with him throughout this election, he has been thinking of new initiatives to bring to the table to actually make the student community better. So I believe in his spark, as so like what he actually mentioned, and also regarding Mohit's experience, right? I believe that experience can build, and that's why we are partners. We're gonna work on this together. And yep, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the KYC post, and we will definitely answer them. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Vanessa and Mohit. Yongzin, your closing statement, please.
Okay, so thank you. So thank you to all the returning officers, like, for your time, for moderating, and for everyone who's watching, actually, for really grilling us with the questions. So like, it's a wake up call, and also, lets us know where things, like some things we were not aware about and we need to read up and research on. and in order to be a better vice president for you guys. Like, this is the feedback. This is the kind of feedback that we're looking for. The kind of think the similar sort of style that we're going for with the sort of two-way communication channel. So like, as vice president, as a candidate, pursue like to the ends of the earth what you guys in order to improve the well-being and welfare of all the students. And yeah, I'm counting on your vote. And thank you so much for your time watching, moderating, everything. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Yongzhen. Thank you, Mohit and Vanessa. And thank you again to the current office bearers, Haikal, Tafin, and Melissa. We just want a quick note. We note the criticisms and the questions that you all have in the sections. We'll get to them when we can. And again, this is a new format that we're trialing. So we understand that it may not be as ideal. We'll be doing what we can to fix it, especially in time for the next debate, which is coming up right soon. All right. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.